This little guy, well, it's the key to the whole build. I'm gonna make a magical market and I'm gonna make it spin. That was the first thought that popped in my mind when I saw Worldforge Miniatures brand new market terrain set. It's really sweet stuff. My name is Troy, this is Facility D20. We're always making cool stuff. Come on in, let's get at it. A full-on fantasy market is the theme for this set, and let me show you some of my favorite pieces from Worldforge Miniatures. First off, we have the Alchemist Fire, then some mandrakes, we've got a roasted pig, a cheese plate, some forge tools, some weapons, cool market sign, this little rat's my favorite, awesome bases, and some detailed shots here. You can see the food, potions, and weapons dealer sets are amazing. I have all the details for this below. There's even a coupon code if you want to pick up this set. So follow the link in the description and check out Worldforge Miniatures. The first thing I did was find this helical bearing at Napa. The whole building is going to be based around this thing, so I had to get some really precise measurements before I could begin my design. I measured the outer diameter, the inner diameter, as well as the thickness. Also, the cool thing about this is that the center doesn't spin, so it would work perfect for what I had in mind. The next thing I did was bust out my laptop, open up Blender, and start the design process. You can see here I have a base, the bearing mocked up, and this plate would represent some sort of building, and then the stationary floor at the very top. The idea was that this last piece, when fitted in, would stay stationary. After about 3 or 4 nights work, I managed to come up with this castle base here where I made the bricks and the door myself, but I did grab the hardwood floor tiles off of Thingiverse and remix it to make the floor to this building. You can see when it all goes together here, the base holds it steady, the stationary floor won't rotate, and the rest of it will. It took 3 prints to get this thing done. The first one, the stationary floor, this was going to take about 1 hour and 47 minutes. The large base, this was going to take about 7 hours and 22 minutes. And then finally, the big print that I was going to do on my LK5 Pro printer, because it's a bigger printer, this was going to take about 2 days and 18 hours. Next up, I loaded some Duramic 3D filament into my Perusa and got started on the small prints. While that was going on, some over-tour filament went into the longer LK5 Pro and I started the big print. Here it is at 5% complete. 10%. 20%. 60% complete. Then at 9%, I ran out of filament and had to change it. So I loaded in some neat PLA from Duramic, and I hate this part because I'm always nervous that I'm going to mess my print up. But the longer LK5 Pro responded really good. Once the filament was loaded, I started to print and it picked right back up, no issues. At 90%, we got a layer of blue bricks. The STL files for this spinning castle can be found under my Patreon account, Facility D20. The link is in the description below. This little guy, well, it's the key to the whole build. Now that these parts are printed, I gotta put it all together and see if this thing's even gonna work. Next up, I had to cut a little strip of sandpaper because I had to sand it down because the tolerances were a bit tight, but the bearings fit into place. I assembled it for the first time, gave it a little spin. Hey, it worked. Next up, I primed it black. Then, a really heavy overbrush with some deco art, slate gray. Time to pick out some bricks. I used tan. This red color, and finally this brown color just to add some variation to the building. Then a good dry brush with some lightened up slate gray to blend everything together a little better. Once that was done, some cinnamon brown for the floor, and this took 2 coats to get proper coverage. A real quick dry brush to add some highlights. Then it was time to do the stationary floor with a simple dry brush of brassy brass. Now, time to coat this entire thing in Polywax wood stain. Yep, and this was to help shade up some details really quickly. The thing about this is that when it dries really shiny, so you kind of need to dull that shine down. Now normally I use Rust-Oleum matte varnish, but there was none in town, so I tried this stuff, and buddy, was that a fail. It just made this shinier and didn't dry, and it was tacky. So then I hit it with some Vallejo matte varnish through the airbrush and fixed that problem right up. Before I can do any resin printing, the first thing I gotta do is change out my FEP film because it's completely haggard. Now look how bad this vat was damaged. It's easy to do. You just pop it apart and you replace the screen. And I want to show you this. This is some of the things you got to deal with 3D printing. And I want to show you guys that this stuff is not as hard as it seems on paper. I use this bottle cap here to create a bit of slack so it could fit back down into my vat. I tighten it up, downloaded an app called Spectrum Analyzer to measure hertz and frequency. Played it like a drum and tuned it up right in the proper range, and you can see here at 317 hertz. I cut off the excess, give it a quick water test, no leaks, we're good to go, loaded it back in, ready to print. Again, in this build we're going to be rocking the iForm 181 resin. While I was building this building, I also took a full week to print all this amazing terrain by Worldforge Miniatures. Let's go ahead and roll that montage. Using Sheet2 Box Pro here, and the printing began. %% alcohol for my wash machine. Made sure I cured every one of them after. You can join the facility by hitting the subscribe button. We're always making cool stuff here, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy dioramas, 3D printing or painting. I do my best to reach out to you guys and respond to every single comment, so go ahead, smash that subscribe button and come along for the ride. Here we go, the weapons. That's a beautiful print. Make sure to wear gloves when you're cleaning these supports off. Loaded another bed full of parts up. Came off perfectly. This one I supported myself just to try it out, and had a few too many supports. Took a bit of work to clean it up. 3 minutes curing time seemed to do the trick with this resin. Also, I like to make sure that my printer is sitting level. Most failures are going to be due to it not being level. Clean up some more supports. This is a full bed full. This is the market sign. Beauty. After a whole week of printing, I got a ton of parts ready to go here. I've got the weapon stall, the food stall, and the potion stall. The next thing I'm going to do is assemble this stuff and bring it out and get some primer on it. The really cool thing about these kits is that they're modular and you can mix and match the backs, the fronts, and the tabletops and come up with some cool designs. It's also really clever. It clips together in pre-slotted holes and slots, and assembly is a breeze with this stuff. I really like the details on the back of this weapon wall. Here are the 3 market huts that I'm going to use in this build. Next up, I primed it black, brown, or gray, depending on what I needed to do after this step was done. The brown made for a really quick wood grain after I dry brushed it with some khaki from Vallejo. Super fast way to paint up some wood. Then I used 2 coats of Army Painter Deep Blue. And also 2 coats of Skeleton Bone. I found that these colors, these blues, the creams, and the golds went really well together. Normally I would go in and shade and highlight this stuff up, but something about these solid colors just looked really cool to me. So I decided, for a change of pace, I was just going to leave these with solid colors. Even the ropes got painted gold. Now, I did go in and give my metallics a wash in sepia here. Guys, if you're liking this video, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps out the video. Thanks a lot. I tried to use a lot of contrast paints on the little bits and bobs here, like these wine bottles. I used some blue, reds, and greens on these potion stands. Here we go, that's that cheese plate. Got some cheese and some green beans. And then my little man decided to come and help me out and paint these little market rats up. He did a great job. This is some food sacks. Here are the forge accessories. This is the anvil. Just all my metallics I painted. I also washed these silvers in Nolan oil. Mandrakes. Simple coat of gray, followed by a wash of Nolan oil. All my metallics got a wash with some earthshade. And I started all the fires off with a coat of Flesh Tear's red just to get that red going. This cobalt creature pig thing here, I gave this a coat of cobalt red. And then a couple of heavy washes in some flesh shade. The nice thing about doing a big kit like this is that I just went ahead and painted it and didn't spend a lot of time getting into the details, because as a full set it looks awesome together. Then I used some Rust Monster orange to just kind of dry brush and blend in some oranges, and then I did the same thing with some Phoenix Flame yellow, and this is trying to make a quick fire here, make it look kind of good. Then all the little accessories that I printed and painted I glued to the back of the wall, and then assembled the potions hut. Here's our little market with our weapons and our accessories, our market sign, food stalls and accessories, and our potion stalls and accessories. Whew, that was a lot of work, but it was pretty enjoyable, I must say. Overall, it took about 5 days to paint this whole thing up, and I feel like these pieces really came to life when I got some paint on. Now, it's time to put this whole thing together and take a look at it. Here it is on the table. At this point, I decided to call this thing Melvin's Magical Market. I think it rivals Gilmore's Glorious Goods if you ask me, but hey, that's just me. I'm really pleased with how this thing spins. It's super smooth. If you guys are still watching, first off, thank you, you're awesome. And second, if you got any cool encounter ideas, let me know in the comments of some fun things I can throw at my D&D party. I'd appreciate that a lot. Also, I want to take a moment to say thank you to my patrons, Michael, Greg, Cara, Alaya, and my mom, Glenda. Can't forget her, of course. Thank you so much. You're helping me take this channel to new heights. Also, guys, I have some really cool videos here, like this massive resin pour for a Cthulhu diorama and another build for Royal Forge miniatures in this really cool carnival set. Make sure to check those out.